A group of children consume cups of coffee-colored drinks before pledging their servitude to the Shadow's house and their masters. A female living doll wakes up and prepares to serve her shadow mistress Kate, cleaning the soot emitted by the latter on a daily basis. Kate is quiet, reserved, and poised, whereas her living doll is optimistic, bubbly, and clumsy. While Kate frequently emits soot around her doll at first, which indicates that she is worried, angry, or anxious, the two gradually warm up to each other. The living doll is given the name Emilico and is informed that she will be sent to clean areas outside of Kate's room soon. Excited, Emilico glances out the window and notices a grouchy-looking doll who glares at her when she waves. Emilico is assigned to a cleaning squad with 3 other dolls, Mia, Lou and Rosemary, discovering the existence of many other dolls like herself that constantly work to keep the Shadow's house clean and are explicitly instructed to not fret over trivial matters. While cleaning Kate's room, she accidentally ruins a precious stuffed doll, causing Kate to get angry. Emilico works extra hard to fix the doll in order to be useful to her master, replacing some of its stuffing with the soot Kate regularly emits. She also sews a small bird, soft toy for herself, naming it Pan-chan after her favorite food, bread, because she wants to make something special for herself, similar to how the doll was for Kate. Kate apologizes to Emilico later, and the two make up. One day, Emilico falls from the windowsill while cleaning it in an attempt to grab Pan-chan, which had fallen out of her pocket. Kate rushes out in a panic to find her despite not being allowed to leave the room before her debut. When the two run into Mia and her shadow mistress Sarah, Emilico is both surprised and discouraged by how Mia perfectly mimics Sarah and the expressions she makes, especially after Sarah labels her a failure. Later, Kate consoles Emilico by saying that she had made progress in protecting what was important to her and she promises to take better care of herself. Emilico decides to make a don't worry notebook before going to bed to write down all the thoughts she is not allowed to think as a living doll. While contemplating how to better serve Kate and the details of the debut, she begins to wonder about the true nature of Shadow's house. Emilico is relieved to see Mia back to her normal self after reuniting with her squad. She discovers that, aside from cleaning, the primary role of dolls is to serve as the face of their shadow master. Rosemary and Mia, who have already made their debuts, emphasize how their ability as a face will determine the outcome of their debut and transition into adulthood within the Shadow's house. However, an alarm soon sounds, warning of an approaching phantom, balls of soot that have accumulated into dangerous creatures due to uncleanliness. As the dolls are dispatched to deal with them, Rosemary's head is swallowed up by a phantom, but thankfully Emilico, using water from a flower pot, gets rid of it. Unfortunately, Rosemary has been diagnosed with soot sickness, which has rendered her incapable of speaking or moving properly. Emilico learns how, unlike her, who cannot read, Mia was born completely literate, and notices scars on her body. At the end of the day, Kate discovers how to manipulate objects telekinetically by emitting soot. She entrusts Emilico with this secret, especially since Shadow lore has no knowledge of such a power. Rosemary reappears, her health restored. Barbie, the doll Emilico previously saw, gathers all the dolls for a lecture. Emilico is introduced to the Star Bearers, of which Barbie is a part of, an elite group of dolls that have all had their debut and now lead all the children dolls. Barbie chastises Rosemary's cleaning crew and accuses quiet and clumsy female doll, of being the perpetrator, which Emilico refutes. As Barbie threatens to beat her, a male doll named Sean defends her. Barbie, enraged, assigns Emilico, Sean, and Ram to night watch for 7 days to figure out who is behind the phantom. The three undergo sleepless nights patrolling for the cause, but to no avail, and the lack of sleep begins to affect their cleaning efficiency. As Sean brings blankets for them to sleep one night, Ram is scared off by the arrival of a faceless doll, dolls that do not speak and serve the current living doll's basic needs, prompting Sean and Emilico to search for her. Emilico stumbles upon the house's exit and is nearly killed by a booby trap, terrifying both children. They discover the source of the phantom incident as they search for rum. A trapdoor leading to the soot cellar had become loose, allowing soot to leak out and collect. Meanwhile, alone in her room, Kate wonders aloud when Emilico will finish her work outside so that the two of them can prepare for the debut together. Despite the fact that the phantom incident was caused by a loose trapdoor rather than neglect, star-bearer Barbara's living doll Barbie chastises the younger living dolls for slacking off. Mia later discovers that her shadow master Sarah has trashed her room. Meanwhile, Rum is disappointed that her relationship with her mistress Shirley hasn't developed. The debutantes and their dolls meet Edward, the adult in charge of their debut, the next morning and notice shelves with figurines of them. Edward plays the piano and Ricky assumes they have to dance, but afterwards Edward places Patrick's figurine on a lower shelf and then leaves telling them to eat their sweets. The living dolls find clues in the sweets they were served. Outside they find themselves at the entrance to a garden labyrinth, where Edward tells them they have 2 hours to rescue their shadow masters and exit the maze. After reciting some rules, he allows them to take one item each from a selection to help with their quest, and Emilico chooses a wheeled cart. It is revealed that Edward is irritated the children danced when he played the piano. Later on, Emilico and Rum team up while John wanders the labyrinth after freeing himself. He eventually finds Kate and makes a shocking proposition. Adult shadows watch the debutantes progress through the labyrinth from the 3rd floor of Shadow's house. Ricky teams with Lou, while Emilico and Rum find Patrick, but he rudely refuses their help. Later, the two girls meet Sean and must solve a puzzle with small animal statues to open a gate. They then meet Sean's shadow John and discover hidden clues by combining their maps and tools. Rum reveals her special ability as they part ways. Ricky and Lou happen upon Shirley, and Lou locates Louise by recognizing the pattern of her soot. Emilico and Rum must navigate a section of a walled maze riddled with scorches, malicious small creatures made of soot. Rum admits that she named herself, because Shirley never spoke to her, or gave her a name. Kate is trapped in a cage above thorns, and the chains are snapping one by one. Edward discusses his true motivations for organizing the current event with the 2 other survivors of his own debut. While the adult shadows continue watching the debutantes, Rum attempts to free Shirley. Meanwhile, Ricky has to trust and collaborate with Sean, which is made difficult by their ongoing rivalry. Kate and Emilico realize Edward has set them up for failure, but the girl comes up with a daring plan to save her shadow mistress. Emilico uses the cart to ride the waterways because she doesn't have enough time to walk back to the maze's entrance, and Kate demonstrates amazing mastery of her soot. Shirley makes Rum happy by saying her name as they walk together, but they run out of time. Later, the living dolls are served a special coffee at a party for the successful debutantes. Edward is received by the high-ranking shadows and asked to explain about morphs and shadows. Although being scolded for only having failed one pair of debutantes, Edward is given the responsibility of the Shadow House's children wing by Lord Grandfather. Rum is repurposed as a faceless doll and Kate realizes that Emilico's personality seems altered somehow. After noticing the change in Emilico, Kate reads the girl's notebook and takes action to bring her back to her normal self. The elder shadows visit a nearby village, revealing the origins of living dolls. When Emilico disappears, Kate goes to John, who ends up fighting Sean. Later, the co-debutantes meet and Louise reveals Emilico's abductor's identity. Emilico is bound and questioned by Edward, who changes his voice and desperately tries to learn more about Kate. Meanwhile, Kate and the other kids devise a plan to sneak into Lord Grandfather's wing, but they are almost caught by Barbara and Barbie. Kate, disguised as a faceless doll, locates the room containing the special coffee. As she searches for Emilico, she fails to notice a small morph with a ribbon following her. When Kate tries to free Emilico, Edward tricks her into revealing herself. Edward reveals that he intends to expose Kate as a disgruntled employee and enemy of Shadow House in order to be promoted to the 3rd floor of Grandfather's wing. John, disguised as a faceless doll, receives assistance from the small morph but is discovered by Edward's 2 friends. Kate and Emilico escape from Edward with the help of the small morph, then meet with John, but are caught by Edward and his friends on top of a tower. Kate and Emilico escape with John's assistance and join Sean, Ricky, and Patrick, but Edward transforms into a massive soot bird and pursues them. As he is threatening Kate and the others, the children's Star Wings bearers arrive and hear everything. Later, Lord Grandfather is lenient with Edward, who vows to destroy Kate and her friends. As the little morph from before enters a faceless doll's cell outside, the train brings a new group of children to Shadow's house.